Alright, I'm going to show you what I did to turn my buddy heater and put it on a thermostat. Alright, this line right here tied into this here. This is just, all I did was just cut this. This is aluminum pipe that goes from here to here. I just cut it. I put a little bit more of a bend on it here. And this piece here, I bent it out a little bit. And then I used 3/16 fuel hose. And that's what this is. And that's what this is. To hook up to this solenoid. As you can see right there. Let's see if we can do this. Right here, this is a 90 with a barb in on it. That's a 1/4 inch to a 3/16 inch barb fitting. So it'll fit the fuel line, and the pump or the solenoid is a 1/4 inch. The clamps that I used are 5/16 and up. I used 4 of them. So this fuel line, I went down to O'Reilly's and I picked it up, and it was like $7.50 for 2 feet of it. I set the solenoid into place, set this here where I wanted it, and then I just did a nice even gradual spin, brought it into where the fuel line's coming in. The propane comes in here and it goes out, and it goes in through this, out, up and over, back down into the main burner. And these are the 12-volt lines that come out. The blue line here, this is a 12-volt, and I just put a connector on the end of it. So you can see I had a notch out. There's a little spot here where the tilt switch goes. I disconnect the tilt switch. I don't need it. That's what those 2 white wires are. They're just wire netted together. That eliminates the tilt switch. And then I just notched out a little bit so that solenoid could sit in there. See it? It's a 12-volt, normally closed solenoid. The one you can get on eBay, don't get it. It's got the solenoid can overheat, it says. This one here I got on Amazon. I'll link everything. Well, I'll put it in the description, everything. But I got this solenoid on Amazon. I got the 90 and the barb with the 90 with the barb fitting on them on Amazon. And I also got the thermostat. So anyhow, so fuel comes in and it goes out. So the solenoid, when a thermostat turns on, it opens the solenoid, lets the propane run through, and it burns. And then I did this disconnect here so I can move it if I need to. It's kind of like sitting right now right on a ladder or a chair next to the propane, because I got it hooked up. I am using this. So I'm going to put the cover back on. It's a little bit of a headache because the screws that go into here on both sides, those take a really long Phillips screwdriver. So I gotta put that back on. So the cover's right here. I'll just put that cover back on. But anyhow, all I did was just cut the fuel line. I didn't cut any length off of it. I just overbent it. And you can see it's like overbent a little bit. That way there the line can come up and do a smooth transition in. And it does a smooth transition out. And then it back into the fuel line. I measured what I needed to make this little loop here, and that's where I cut it, and then the remainder is what goes on the rest. So I'm going to put this all on pause, and I'll put the cover back on, and I'll go over the rest of it. Alright, so I got the cover back on, the back cover. So there's that disconnect. There's a little quick disconnect. And here's the other end of it. This is going to my thermostat, and they just plug in. I gotta do this with 2 hands. Hang on. All right, so it just plugs together. That way there, if I need to move it, that's poker trying to lay an egg. So anyhow, so I got the buddy heater sitting here. This is a bracket for my fireplace fan. There, as you can see, it just slides right in. No electricity. When it gets to 90 degrees, the blade will start spinning, just like that. All right, so let me show you what I did on the thermostat. So here's my thermostat. I have it set at 63 degrees. And I have it set on efficient, a 90% efficient furnace. And the reason for that there is the thermostat will kick on, the heater will run for a couple minutes, and then shut off and let the air stabilize, and then it'll, if it needs more heat, it'll do it again. It's just so it doesn't get like 80 degrees in here and then shut off and then repeat itself. So let me show you what the inside looks like. So inside, this little tab here is usually sitting up here, and it says in the instructions to use a pencil and slide it down. This is like 8, number 8. There's numbers on this brass, and it says to slide it down to number 8 for 90% efficient furnace. So that's why I have it set there. Now this is the inside. Okay, this end is going to my battery. The white wire is actually my hot. I didn't cut it. I'm cutting my neutral. So I gotta go one on one terminal, which is the B terminal, and the other end on the W terminal. I just have this here set on fan and heat. So that's what you want to do on the inside. It doesn't require any electricity. It's just so that's why I got the neutral cut. So looking at the back side of the thermostat, there are, get this focused. There are 3 screws. You can see the 3 holes. That lines up with this hole, and this hole. So you need to just set that in place. Screw in those 3 screws. So the reason why it's important to get these screws in nice and snug, this one actually intercepts this wire, and this one will intercept this. So when this here calls for heat, you can see it turned off. When it calls for heat, it'll turn on. So this one here would be for cooling, and we're not doing cooling, we're just doing heating. So this is my common, and this is what's going out. This one here is the one that's going out. So this is the R, and this one here would be the W. For a control screwdriver, I'm using this. This is really cheap. I actually got this at the Dollar Tree for $1.25. It's a little control screwdriver kit. Because you need little tiny screw. You got little tiny screws in here. Whoops, inside of here. So it's what you need these for. Unless you have a really tiny screwdriver. But as you can see, it's turned on to heat and it's on auto. So I want to have it set up so it'll turn on and off as needed to maintain the temperature I want it at. So the first thing I do, as you can see, this is a 100-pound tank. It holds 23.6 gallons. This is an adapter. On the big tanks, it threads inside, but on these lines, it threads on the outside. So this has got an inside thread and an outside thread. And then so the hose hooks up to that. So I'm just opening up my tank. So here's my heater, and it has to run on the pilot light all the time when you want it on. So start it. Pilot light stays on. So now we have it. You turn it to whatever setting you want. I have not had to have it on high, so I set it on low. I'm actually, as you can see, there's dirt and grass everywhere. This is my chicken coop. So anyhow, so there's my heater. The pilot light is on. So we're going to simulate that it's calling for heat. You'll hear it click. It just clicked. And when it clicks, it starts to heat up. You can't see it with all the light in here, so let me close the door. So there, you can see it starting to heat up. And then once it's warm enough, I'm going to set it back to where I want it. I want this at 63. So you heard it click. That shut off the solenoid. Just the pilot light's only on. This will save a ton of propane. Yeah, granted the pilot light burns all the time while you got it on, but only when it needs heat will it turn on. And then when you're done using it, just shut it off and turn your propane off. I'll come back tonight. I'll open the propane up. I'll get the pilot light lit, and I'll not worry about it. Last night it got down to 19 degrees, and it was 63 degrees in here. The only thing between this is actually a chicken run that I've tied into the chicken coops. That's the baby coop, and in the back is the big coop. I just have a thin piece of material here. This is actually, they say it's an R17. I don't believe it. Anyhow, it's got a foil on one side, a thin layer of high density foam in the middle, and then a layer of this vinyl on the outside. And I wanted the white, so that's the way I got it set up. So anyhow, this material is only 1/8 inch thick, and that's what's the insulation between the outdoors and the indoors. I do have, these are blackout curtains. On the other side is a different color. We use them in Alaska. One helps holding the heat. They give you an insulation value also. So I have that there, but I'm using them to keep the chickens from eating the insulation. As you can see, it gets dusty here. I just did this here 2 weeks ago. And sorry, you can see all the dust in here. But over here, it doesn't blow. You can tell which way the dust blows when the door's open. And, you know, I use Christmas lights for my lighting. As you can see, it's pretty lit. I haven't let the babies out yet. You can see there's one right there. They want to come out, but I'm not going to let them out until Poker here. That's a little Poker. Yeah, Poker. She's wanting to lay an egg. Since I stole her nesting box, I made her a nice little nest here on top of the hay bale. I covered it with a piece of chicken wire and put some straw over it, sandwiched it between another piece of chicken wire, and it's like a little hiding place for them, and they seem to like that. As you can see, the glue that I used to hold everything on. So anyhow, this is how I heat my chicken coop without having to come out here every half hour checking the temperature and getting it too hot and then getting it too cold and off and on. This way here, it drops down to 60 degrees. That heater kicks on. It'll bump it up to two more degrees. It'll shut off. And it'll just fluctuate that way all night long. Not using very much propane. Before I was using 5 gallons every 5 days. So a gallon of propane every day. Now I'm averaging a gallon every 5 days to maintain the same heat. Anyhow, that's my full video on how I did it. Have a nice day. Thanks.